Originally I kept thinking that there's going to be an evolution, right? But yet I still see that in 2022, we're asking people what their age, gender, or marital status are to rate auto insurance, which is really ridiculous. I mentioned that the scaled framework. Well, that's part of the idea, is that you have sensors that can kind of directly observe behavior now, right? And whether that's wearable, whether that's smart home, you see it a lot in agricultural crop insurance and things like that. It's like, now that we have these cheap sensors through nanotechnology that can just directly observe behavior in real time or near real time, all that data can be streamed over cellular networks or Wi-Fi. It can be stored in cloud and processed in cloud computing, and then you can use AI and advanced algorithms to kind of find patterns and make sense of the data. Why are you asking people how old their home is, right? What the age of their roof is and things like that. And
things they don't know.
That they're right, that nobody knows the square footage.
Right.
Like, they don't know if you should or should not include your basement, right? If it's finished or not, things like that. And so originally I kept thinking, well, companies are going to adapt, right? But increasingly I realized that so many people are tied to workflow. So many people are tied to the status quo. So many people, quite frankly, I talk about offensive innovation and defensive innovation. Some people talk about it being, disruptive innovation versus incremental, and, process versus strategic, things like that. People have kind of used different terms for the same concept of, I call it the gate agent problem. So, right, if you've ever been to the airport, you try to get your flight change or an upgrade or whatnot, and you see this green screen system that agent is using, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we're still using this technology. Yet if you were to make an intuitive, right, interface that would make you and I a semi-competent gate agent, Bryan, like, for that person, that's actually gonna slow them down, because they know the system, they know all the function keys, they know the tabs, right? They know the system, they've been working in it for decades. And so you're actually slowing down that expert by introducing kind of a new system. Yet when that person retires, right, or if you try to hire a new gate agent, like training them on that new system, it just becomes ever more costly. And so I kept thinking of it as this progression, but I do think in some aspects it's a paradigm shift. It's just, right, you have to totally change over to this kind of streaming world, this AI world, like, that doesn't comport with your GLM models and your core applications and things like that. And so that's really, I think, the big leap. Newer companies, right, can kind of jump right to that. I do feel like they're starting at a lower, in some ways it's lowering what I call the cost floor. I talk about the expense ratio and how it's really remained flat over the last 10 years in my book, meaning as premiums have gone up, expenses have gone up by the exact same amount. We're not getting more efficient as an insurance industry. And so those higher expense ratios provide opportunity for startups to come in and to kind of undercut us. And even some incumbents have recognized this. And I give some case examples in talks that I give. But, we talk about the innovator's dilemma quite a bit. And so some of those embedded products or travel insurance or pet insurance, whatever it is, right? Like that could easily become health insurance, a year from now or 2 years from now, or things like that. So I do think companies that are able to capitalize, and I do think it's a mix of startups and incumbents that are really seeing that, hey, this is actually a completely different paradigm of managing risk, of pricing risk, of underwriting. And then there's this experience part, customer journey through claims or servicing or whatnot, or adding services and features where insurance is just a component of a broader product offering.
Right.
We're in the very, very early innings of that with Pay by Mile and things like that. But I think that's the big transition that we're going to start to see over the next decade. And if the more that people are able to get kind of sensor data and gain intelligence and patterns, like, that can be a moat, right? And I know I've talked to folks about, like, is it owning the data? Is it owning the AI? Is it both? Like, what gives you a competitive advantage? But, all things being equal, the more data you have and the more you can make sense of that data, that is going to give you a lasting competitive advantage over time. I'm Rob Galbraith, and this is The Future of Insurance.